Same. Just kidding. I know you can't hear me. What's up, everybody? This is Dave LeClaire. Welcome to the Technophilia Gaming Podcast. I am your host with the most, or the least, or something. I am here with a man who has bright lights in the background saying technophiliapodcast.com. His name is James Bruce, and he's in England. What's up, James?
Not a lot. I haven't played a damn thing.
You're worthless. Same. Just kidding. I know you can't hear me. What's up, everybody? And I am here with Robert Weezahan, or Rob, or Robbie, or Bob, or whatever you want to call him. He's just so awesome, you can call him anything. What's up, Rob?
It's really awkward when Dave and James fight. Send help.
We don't fight. We're best friends. We are the best.
Well, you guys are always yelling at each other. I swear.
Well, you know what?
Dude, the makeup sex is amazing.
It's not that we don't love you, Rob. It's just that we just can't make it work together, me and James. But it's not your fault. It's not your fault. We still love you. Everything is still fine. Don't worry.
I'm gonna go to my room and play with my action figures.
You go to the room and play with something, but it won't be action figures. Ew, that's gross. That's a great way to start the show.
You really took the low-hanging fruit there, didn't you?
I'll show you some low-hanging fruit.
It has to stop.
You gotta stop giving me the setups. If you give me the setups, I'm gonna take them.
Oh.
So let's get this out of the way, Rob. Why don't you tell us some more bullshit about the crew this week? Let's get it out of the way. Let's get this shit over with first.
I won't.
Look, Dave.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and just, gush over it. You guys, if you want to hear much more about the crew, just check out last week's episode. But I've still been playing it. It's pretty much the only thing I've been playing this week. The end game of that is pretty much race people in multiplayer and do huge endurance events and earn more cars. So that's what I've been doing. I will say I checked out the trophy data on PS4, and only about 15% of users, a little under 15%, are at level 50 based on the trophy data. So my current worries about the pool of players for PvP, it looks like are just that's gonna fade over time. Not as many people binge played it to 50 like I did. But the game still continues to be a thing that I find interesting. There's still spots on the map I haven't uncovered, so I'm still running around earning cars and checking out monuments. It's really, sometimes I just literally sit down and just drive. It's kind of zen. There's a whole bunch of different radio stations for genres of music, and I just put on the ambient kind of orchestral electronic station, and just I'll just cruise sometimes, and that's really cool. But yeah, I'm loving it a lot. I think this week I'm probably going to focus on trying to get some of the party achievements. So there's you can have a party of up to 4 people together, and there's stuff like achieve a combined party speed of 870 miles per hour or something. So get 4 people in your party, all of your current speeds have to add up to cap that, or have your party together execute a $3,000 stunt run or something. So there's all these things that you can do, these party-based achievements that I'm going to start hunting down. So certainly swing by my crew streams if you wanted to get on that on PS4. But yeah, I'm still finding plenty of stuff to do. Like I said, some of the best and most amusing things to do are kind of buried, and they didn't tie super cool rewards to those. A lot of the most interesting things to do, the awards are state license plates, American state license plates, and that's barely customization. But as a person who's just enjoying the game for what it is, it's nice to still have things ahead of me to do. Okay, that's it. How did I do?
That was good. God. Nice and concise. James is very excited. He is just chomping at the bit to play the crew. I know that it is number 1 on his radar of games that he wants to play. And
that's totally
it's gonna be good stuff for James all around. He's just a happy camper. So I bought a game called well, actually I didn't buy it. I got it in a humble bundle. They did that humble jumbo. I can't say these words. Humble jumbo bundle a while back, maybe a couple months ago. And
Dave, why is James squeezing into my square?
Don't worry about it. It should be fixed now. The stupid chat thing is, I forgot. Don't message me in chat anymore, James. Apparently, when I look at it, it breaks everything. So don't do that. Um, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I started playing Saints Row the 4th because I am reviewing a thing called the Alienware Alpha that you may have heard of. It's a it's kind of like Alienware's Steam machine, but it's not a true Steam machine because it comes with Windows on it, so it's basically just a small PC that is meant to hook up to your television. And I wanted a game to play on it that we got the lowest end model, so it's not like a super beefy computer. It's like $500 and something. So I figured Saints Row is new enough where it will, you know, it has good graphics and stuff, and it'll push it, but it's not like trying to run Dragon Age Inquisition at max or something on it. So I played a couple hours of that game, and I gotta say that game is ridiculous, as you would expect it to be. It is. I've
played about that much of it too.
It is totally Saints Row, man. I mean, there is it's totally Saints Row with superpowers, basically. So the premise of the game is kind of like you're in like a Matrix like situation where you are in a simulation, and as such you are granted all kinds of crazy powers because the simulation affords you that luxury. And yeah, so you kind of can jump really high and you can fly. So it's always weird for me to think that this at one point this was a GTA clone basically, and now it has turned into this ridiculous, like, I don't even know how to what is Saints Row at this point, you know? Like, it's definitely not a GTA clone anymore.
I mean, it's funny, but GTA is funny in the satire and like send up of the worst parts of American culture, and Saints Row is funny in the like movie one-liners and really clever references sort of way. Like I mean, man, that opening scene with the climbing the rocket, and the musical send up of like a certain classic '90s movie.
So if you're watching the stream, I'm going to try to find the rocket thing because that is definitely, here we go. That is definitely worth taking a quick peek at. So you are literally climbing up a rocket, like a space rocket with a missile, and dodging things as they fall at you, and it is just pure and utter nonsense. And this is within the first about 15 minutes of the game. You are climbing a rocket, so that's how you know, like, hey, we're not in a GTA clone anymore. We are.
Well, and also just there's the stuff like the, you know, gigantic dildo weapons and things like that, like the real childish parts of Saints Row 4. And I feel like if like that stuff doesn't do anything for me, it's like, oh boy, you're beating a man to death with a giant sex toy. But the other parts of Saints Row...
That's literally the only reason I played it.
Oh, you're the other audience. Okay, I get it. But no, all the other stuff, like all the movie references and just the like super outlandish situations, you know, like that stuff is really hilarious. But yeah, there are certain parts of that game that do nothing for me, and then there are other parts of it that say, "Oh, Saints Row, you're not that bad, are you?"
Yeah, it's clear that it's not. They put some thought into it. It's not just like, hey, how immature and corny can we be? They actually do. They clearly try.
Right.
And there's the whole thing too with where this game, you know, it almost didn't come to be because of the whole THQ closing thing, and it had to get kind of taken over and brought to a different. Who ended up even publishing it?
Was it did Deep Silver get a hold of?
Yeah, that sounds right. It's not that sounds right. Deep Silver may have. Either way, the fact that the game, I assume that this game was going to be garbage because when a game goes through all that kind of, you know, almost not being made and all these transitional phases and stuff like that, my expectations are not necessarily the highest, and they still pretty much seem to have nailed it, so that's good. And yes, it was Deep Silver. I did some live on the air fact checking, and yeah, so definitely if you can get it, it's always in some kind of Steam sale. Like every week you can pick up a copy of Saints Row for like $4 in a Steam sale, or like I said, it was in the Humble Bundle. So getting a cheap copy of Saints Row is not hard, so you should probably do that if you get the chance. So James, what is going on behind you right now? I understand you haven't played any games this week because you thought it was more important to make a stupid screen that says words on it.
Well, okay, so first, I haven't played anything because I actually broke the Oculus Rift drivers on my my gaming machine, which meant I had to reinstall Windows, which is always fun, as you know. And I was busy trying to sell the house, which is quite a thing. It takes a lot of effort to do that. And three, I was making this bit of awesome right here, which is like an IKEA photo frame that I've taken apart and then glued a bunch of LEDs into, basically, and then hooked it up to an Arduino, which is driving it along with some software on the PC, and you make this cool stuff. And it can do a lot more, but I'm just showing that right now. I'll change it in a minute. But that's why I didn't have time to play anything.
Is it only text, or can you show pictures?
I can show a bunch of stuff. Look, let me play around with this here. You carry on talking, and I'll show you some different stuff.
Why is James so dumb, Rob? What do you think?
No comment.
That's not the answer I was hoping for. I assume that your no comment is not because you disagree with him being dumb, but because you legitimately can't come up with an actual reason why he's so dumb.
Our office is not prepared to take a stance on that issue. We will put out a press release as soon as we have information for you.
Looks like you're sitting in a living room, not so much an office.
It is my living room. Yeah, this is no. I don't. I mean, I'm in a one-bedroom apartment.
So when you say our office, you don't literally mean like your office. You mean like your people.
No, like yeah, I mean, you know, the complex, the Robert Wiesehan complex here.
The state.
Yeah, the silo.
The silo. What the hell is going on now, James? I'm gonna have a seizure.
So this bit of software, it's really designed for like professional club environments and stuff. It does like it's basically LED matrix animation stuff.
You look like you're at the saddest rave.
Well,
any rave James is at is obviously extremely sad.
Oh, whatever.
No, but I can see though, like in your defense, looking at the thing behind you, if there were many of it, and there was like I don't know, like a remix of Lord's Royals playing, you know, it could take me there.
Is that just a computer monitor?
It's a mini one. No, what? No, it's not a monitor. It's actual LEDs.
Oh, it's a bunch of LEDs. Okay, it's hard to tell looking at it on the screen. It just looks...
So I'm hoping to make it do stuff like show what the weather is outside, or when the Apple stock price goes up and I know to sell, that kind of thing.
How much did those LEDs all cost, or that array of LEDs cost?
I have some left over, but I bought 300 in 2 strips of 5 meters, and they were like $80 in total.
Is it worth $80 for a bunch of LEDs in a square?
It is
very
much.
That thing could be fun. I'm willing to give James the benefit of the doubt on it.
I never give James the benefit of the doubt on anything.
In America, you can buy them for like $30 for a single meter, but I got them straight from China, $30.
In America, we don't buy things in meters.
Yes, you do.
We buy yards and feet.
Okay, that's like basically the same thing, isn't it?
Yard is slightly smaller than a meter. A foot is substantially smaller than a meter.
The rest of the world works in meters. Get with the program.
The rest of the world is wrong, James Bruce. It's wrong.
Whatever.
So, my office is prepared to make a statement on feet and meters.
So we didn't really, as you can tell by the fact that we're talking about James's light up bullshit, we didn't play much this week. All of us are worthless, and we are the worst video game podcast hosts ever. Wait, Rob is making a hand gesture trying to stop me. What do you want?
Well, no, but I can tell. But there, so something else video game related did happen in my life. My girlfriend's in town, and she was like, so she's the one who got me into Euro Truck Simulator 2. If you guys have seen, I have tweeted emphatically that I took a full 180 on truck simulators because I had.
All truck simulators, or just this specific?
Well, just the idea of playing a truck simulator. Like the idea of that was like, oh gosh, this is gonna be super boring, and so on and so forth. But she had me try it, and sure enough, it was super fun. So I turned the tables here and had her try Civilization 5, which she had never played like a deep strategy game like that before. and she came into it expecting to not like it, and there was definitely a little bit of a learning curve and a little bit of resistance. But shortly after I streamed that, like a day or so later, she was like, "I want to keep playing my Civ file." So I got her. Like, you know,
great, you ruined her life too. Good job.
Woo!
Congratulations.
Just the idea that it's, you know, I feel like Civ 5 is the best presentation we've ever had on a Civ game. It explains itself really well. It boils everything down to easy to read icons, you know, and things like that. And it was so cool to see someone who doesn't typically play any kind of strategy games. Like she does a lot of like JRPGs, Monster Hunter, that kind of stuff. It was really cool to see her take to it and actually want to continue to play more. And I think it speaks to the kind of the really broad appeal of Civ 5 without watering itself down. You know, if you're playing it, granted, you have to have Gods and Kings and Brave New World. But if you're playing it with Gods and Kings and Brave New World, it's plenty to do, you know, for high-end strategy gamers and stuff. There's a reason that like 4 years after this is released, there are still 50,000 people a day playing it on Steam. It's really solid. I guess if I were to reiterate things you should look for during the Christmas Steam sale coming up, try to get yourself Civilization 5 complete, because man, that game is good for just about.
So what kind of games does she normally play? Like, what is her favorite game?
Well, Monster Hunter. I mean, she's a
just
big
Monster Hunter.
She's a big Pokemon fan. She's been playing some Rune Factory. Like I said, she introduced me to Euro Truck Sim 2. So I mean, she plays fairly broadly, but certainly strategy was not in her wheelhouse.
She likes hunting monsters, clearly. I mean,
yes.
She's a fan of little monsters and large monsters and just general monsters.
Ferocious and adorable and everything in between.
Okay. Interesting.
She bought it. She went out and bought Squishables yesterday. Those really plump stuffed animals. So now that she's tasted Civ, is she gonna go try like real-time strategy games and expand out, or are you just? So we've decided to just go full deep end and make her play Dwarf Fortress at this point. No, I have no idea. We're just I'll tell you though, I'll be looking out for a deal on Civ 5 Complete so she can play it on her Steam account later. But other than that, you know, we're just gonna wade into the strategy waters.
Can't you do the family share thing?
Oh, I guess we could.
I mean, obviously you can't be playing, but as long as you're not playing a game,
as long as I'm like binging on the crew over here on my TV.
Exactly. She can just go into town on your entire Steam library and have the time of her life. Look at me. I'm a man of ideas over here.
You're a thinker. That's why you're the host, Dave.
I don't think that's why. I think it was because I was just the only one that was willing to do it. But either way,
you're the only one motivated to run the software.
I suppose, yeah. So I also bought Dragon Age, but I played like a tiny smidgen of it. I basically played like the opening scene where you find out that you're arrested and stuff, and then you're with that lady, and then you go and you
get laser hands.
Yeah. Yep. You go. I'm just starting to close the rift things with my hands now, so I can't talk about that game in any type of educated capacity yet. It seems good. It seems like Dragon Age. I'm making dialogue choices, so you know it does what I want to do. Though the strategy does not seem quite as deep as I may like it compared to like Dragon Age 1, but it seems fun anyway. So whatever. I'll talk about that more next week. I think I'm gonna just. I know nobody probably wants to watch it anyway, but I think I'm just gonna stream the entirety of the game from start to finish on our channel. So,
well, the real hardcore Dragon Age players are on like their second and third playthroughs already. I know some people who are like, their Tumblrs are just like Dragon Age pictures and Dragon Age quotes, and these are people who have already finished the game 2-3 times, done different moral choices, done different, you know, party member romance options. So. There's certainly people who are at a point where the game won't be spoiled for you, Dave.
Yeah, I have not. I don't know anything about the story really, so I have managed to stay completely sheltered from the world of everything. So that's good. But I think I'm gonna like it. I know I'm gonna like it because I yet to encounter a BioWare RPG that I don't like. So even with changes and whatever tweaks that they make, I always come down on the side of these are good, so I'm sure that will remain. So guys, I don't know if you know this, but the holidays are here. They're upon us. That time of year has arrived. Are you aware of this?
I can feel it.
You can feel it? Do you hear Christmas music playing in your head right now? Here comes Santa Claus, here comes... Yeah, I hear it. It's there.
Oh, see, I heard All I Want for Christmas Is You because that's what everyone's playing.
That's gay. Just kidding. No offense
look,
to anybody.
I don't choose what everyone's playing. I just hear it.
Well, I assumed you were saying that All You Want for Christmas Is Me, and then in that case, you know, like literally you, because we were speaking to each other, and then that's weird. Anyway... So what do you guys want for Christmas? Because since we didn't play anything really, why don't we talk about what we want to play? Or not necessarily gaming either. What do we want for Christmas in general? I'm going to let Rob start because I love Rob.
You're just saying.
Yeah, it's true.
You probably literally are just saying. Okay.
I literally am.
Well, so I've got a couple games on my Christmas list. I missed the Shadow of Mordor train when it came out. Like everyone was real sweet on that game, and I did not pick it up at the time because I was like, Lord of the Rings game, whatever. But then it ended up being one of the best reviewed titles of the year, so I should probably play that video game. So I think it was really cool to see a licensed game come out and be the thing that like required a next gen console, because the last gen versions of Shadow of Mordor don't have that Nemesis system. Like it's not
that game is not good without the Nemesis system.
That's what I hear.
Straight
yeah,
up.
yeah.
Not even a little bit good without the Nemesis system. It's just the story is very weak. So if the making your own story is the fun part. Right,
and you know, getting, you know, kind of like starting a rivalry with some of those different generals and stuff. So
yep.
So it was really cool to see. Like, I feel like that's the first game that's come out that's been like super well reviewed and has been like the case for experiences you can't have on the previous generation of hardware. And so it was extra cool for that to be a licensed game. You know, like Lord of the Rings game coming out of nowhere and being this kind of crazy, you know, big milestone for the new consoles. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to getting my hands on Persona Q Shadow of the Labyrinth for Nintendo 3DS. That is your Persona 3, Persona 4, Jetsons Meet the Flintstones crossover with the game mechanics of Etrian Odyssey. So it's a real hardcore first-person dungeon crawler that will kill you at the drop of a hat, but with the delightful and endearing characters of Persona 3 and Persona 4. So yeah, I want to get my hands on that, and then also hoping to get my hands on the new Dungeons & Dragons Dungeon Master Guide to complete my 3 rulebook set, because I've been holding off on that, but I need to complete my collection.
Sounds like a pretty solid list.
Yeah.
How about you, James? You have said on many occasions that you just buy whatever you want. So what are you just gonna buy whatever you want?
You know what I want for Christmas? I want some free time to actually play some of these sodding games that I buy. Like, I'm really hoping over Christmas to finish through like Wasteland and Divinity. Yeah, I don't really want any new games, because if I wanted them, I'd just buy them. But
you got some real deep stuff on the front burner with Wasteland and Divinity.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, Christmas is long, huh? I'm hoping we can slow down the publishing schedule and do some stuff there. If I had to wish for one thing, it would be a theoretical thing. Because as far as I can tell, there is nothing out there that is like it.
You cut out and I missed what that theoretical thing is, and you came back.
Sorry.
As far as I can tell, there is nothing like it.
Yeah, I was like absolute silence.
I was like, "What is it? What is it?"
All right, a remake of Transport Tycoon.
A remake of I've never even heard of that. Transport Tycoon.
You like?
Never heard it?
It's like a train simulator or some shit.
No, it wasn't just trains. It was all of them. It was, you would make you could either do passengers, or you could do mail, or you could do coal, and there was like, it was a bit like SimCity, and there were it's nothing like SimCity. There's cities all over the place, and there were industries, and you would have to set up train lines and things between them, and it was really cool. It took you through. It had the element of like eras as well. So you started off with like crappy buses and trains and things, and then eventually you went up to really good trains, and that was cool. It was a bit of an industry game. It was a bit of a building networks game. It's awesome. Someone's mentioning OpenTTD in the chat room, which is basically the same thing, but I want to remake a new version.
James, I'm about to blow your mind. There may be a game that meets that criteria. It's not a remake.
Cities in Motion. I looked at that.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I haven't actually played it myself, but I was like, this sounds a lot like Cities in Motion.
Yeah, it's not so much.
Okay, have you actually played Cities in Motion?
I actually have it in my Steam library. I think I played it for a very short while. I tried to get through the tutorial, and it wasn't doing it for me. That's another one of the things I should play over Christmas, to be honest. It's okay. I should look back into that, but it didn't appeal to me that much the first time around.
I wanted to make your dreams come true, James Bruce.
I know, I really appreciate that. I just want Chris Sawyer to make another Transport Tycoon. That's what I want.
It'll be on Kickstarter someday. Everything is on Kickstarter.
Yeah, he's very private, though. He doesn't do many interviews or anything, so it's difficult to know what's going on there.
We should contact him and be like, hey.
They did release it for iPad and something last year, I think.
iPad and something. That sounds great.
What's the other one? Android. iPad and Android.
Oh yeah, that other mobile platform that I've heard of somewhere. Somebody may have mentioned it at some point.
People use that, yeah.
Yeah, a couple
they
people.
Released it for that. But,
well, there you go.
I would like that. That's on my list.
I will put in some calls for you, and we'll make it happen.
Dude, please.
So my list basically is all video games. It's a bunch of games that I just haven't played yet. Number one on the list is Sunset Overdrive. I really want to play that game.
Yeah.
I want Far Cry 4. I haven't played that game, even though I'm anti Ubisoft now. I still want that game. The Crew is on the list. I never played.
As well, it should be.
Yes, but I'll never play it. But it's on the list, but I'll probably never actually get it. I have Dead Rising 3 on here, which I never played. Even though it's a launch game, I still kind of want to play it. And Forza Horizon 2, which is the kind of open-worldy Forza game. Want to play that? Haven't played it yet.
You're really flying the Xbox One flag here, man.
Yeah, Alien Isolation for Xbox One on the list also. Wolfenstein: The New Order, and rounding out the list is the UFC game for Xbox One. So literally everything is Xbox One.
Dave, it's really good that we're on the same show, because based on the list you just told me, neither of us will have any overlap on topics. We'll both always cover completely different games.
Well, that's not true. The Crew is an overlap.
Okay, but like literally the vast majority of that, both in like what platform it's on and what kind of games they are.
Well, it's only because I don't have a PS4. If I had a PS4, they would all be on the PS4 instead of the Xbox. Just I backed the wrong horse, so.
You backed a different horse. All right, it's a horse of a different color.
That's a racist statement about horses.
I did not make a value judgment on the color of the horse. Blue horse forever, though.
Why are we talking about horses? We're just trying to fill time now.
What about nudes?
Let's talk about nudes. I mean news. So we're going to start this off with some old school news for Technophilia fans who go back in the day before we were just a gaming podcast, back when Justin was still here saying, "Oh, hey, Internet," pretending like he didn't know that we were live. We're going to talk about the Pirate Bay. Well, James is going to talk about the Pirate Bay. James, what's going on with the Pirate Bay?
Yay, the Piracy Pundit is back.
That's right. Actually, tell us about it.
So the police raided the load balancer rather than the site itself, and the load balancer is the thing that splits up the traffic and sends it to the individual sites. So once you get that down, the whole thing breaks. Don't believe anywhere that says it's back already, because there's a bunch of fake clones that have popped up everywhere carrying malware.
Of course.
However, isohunt.to has basically recreated the interface along with the current database, and they've said they'll keep it open as long until the main Pirate Bay comes back. Right, that's at oldpiratebay.org, which, funnily enough, is not actually censored in the UK, where the Pirate Bay was censored. So that's cool.
That's convenient.
It's also important to remember that the Pirate Bay hasn't actually been a tracker and hasn't hosted torrent files for a long time now. All they had was hosting magnet links, which is basically a bit of text, like a descriptor for the file in a bit of text, and you can in fact download the entire database of the Pirate Bay in a 75 megabyte file.
But that wouldn't include new torrents, right?
No, of course, because you can't upload. No, right. But it includes everything that has ever been uploaded there already. And of course, there's tons of other sites. So it doesn't sound like it'll come back anytime soon. One of the current operators said, "We weren't really that surprised by the raid. This is something that's part of the game. We couldn't care less, really. We have, however, taken the opportunity to give ourselves a break. How long are we supposed to keep going? To what end? We were a bit curious to see how the public would react." So I don't know. I mean, honestly, no. Given that there's ad revenue involved, I think it's quite likely they will return at some point. And I think if you take one thing away from this, it's that it doesn't really matter. Like, the Pirate Bay wasn't a tracker. It didn't host files. It was literally just an icon, like a symbol. The data it held was just a bunch of magnet links. And there's, I think something like this will only spur on the development of better P2P hosting networks, like Tor, but better. So yeah.
I never used the Pirate Bay when I download my Linux distros. I always used kickass.to.
Yeah.
Or now I think it's kickass.so. I think they changed it, but either way, I like that site better. I like their layout. For Linux distros, obviously.
Yeah, I mean the truth is there's a bunch of better sites out there. It's just that the Pirate Bay was the most famous, and it was iconic, really, right? It wasn't the best torrent site out there. It was just iconic.
It's just the name people associate with torrents.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of which, I gotta ask you guys a question, because I had an argument with Jess, and I want your guys' opinion. Do you guys, you know how people sometimes they call brands by, they call a product by a brand, like a Band-Aid or whatever. You know, it's an adhesive bandage, but you call it a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Do you have a brand name that you know of that you call a kitchen mixer? A stand mixer? Would you say like that is a blah?
Maybe Mixmaster.
Okay.
Blend Tech, is that what you're after?
Nope. Jess apparently says that everybody calls a stand mixer a KitchenAid. They're like, her mom was like, "Hey, do you guys want a KitchenAid for Christmas?" And I was like what, like a fridge or like an oven?
I don't know what that
like
is.
What KitchenAid product are you offering me? And Jess is like, "No, KitchenAid means a stand mixer. Everybody knows that." And I've never heard of this before.
That sounds like crazy talk to me.
All right, good. I'm glad to hear.
No, I would use Blend Tech because it's a special kind of really good mixer, right? But I've never heard of.
Chat, I would like to hear your opinion. Do you associate KitchenAid? Is KitchenAid like Kleenex to you, or Band-Aid, or Frisbee, or is Jess absolutely bonkers? Along with, apparently she polled people at work, and they're all like, "Yeah, KitchenAid, that's a thing." Never heard of it before, so she's crazy. Anyway, that's a side note. So Rob, what's going on with the Steam thing? With the Steam auction, it was up, and there was a thing with the gems, and then the thing was gone, and then it was back, and then now it's back now, right? We're good.
So yeah, I don't know the exact details of how the gem duping was going on, but basically the auction system went live. So the way the Steam auction works is you can just like in Hearthstone. In Hearthstone, you can grind up old cards you don't want for like a dust or something to buy new cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
Help me out.
Yep, that is a thing you can do.
Okay, same idea for Steam. Basically, you could take emotes and backgrounds, profile backgrounds that you weren't using, and grind them up into gems, and then use them to bid on. They've gotten publishers to donate over 2,000 different games, 100 copies of each game. For this auction, and the auctions go off every 45 minutes, and basically whoever's the highest gem bidder gets the copy every 45 minutes. So apparently some people found ways to dupe gems or something. So all kinds of auctions had to be refunded. Apparently there was some stuff that was done in such a way that it couldn't be refunded, so affected people received a free copy of Counter-Strike Go. But now that it's back up again, it is another brilliant thing that Valve is doing to make them tons of money. Because that's all these Steam sale games that they construct is just like, they just end up being ways to like pad the Valve pocket. Because you can, if you look at how it's constructed, it's made to do a couple of things. Number one, it's made to remove emotes and emotes and profile backgrounds that people weren't using from the economy, so that the ones that people do want become more scarce and become more valuable and trade at a higher price and a higher volume. And you know, like who literally, I love Civilization 5, but I don't need an emoticon of the Capitol building, you know, for my general Steam conversations. So I ran a bunch of my old profile backgrounds and emoticons through the chipper. I got about like 2,200 gems or so. And then I just converted them all into trading card boosters because I was like, I'm never going to win anything. But
say, there's literally nothing on here selling. Everything is at least like 10,000 gems.
Well,
oh, actually, there's a little game that's selling for 2,000. Some game I never heard of.
If you page back far enough on that list, listeners, let me tell you, if you have ever wanted to try some random games with a Metacritic average of about 50%, let me tell you, for the small sacrifice of a few profile backgrounds and emoticons, you too could own random games that maybe a double-digit number of people have ever played. Like, the vast majority of this auction pool is stuff with like a Metacritic 50 or less, and you know, stuff that like if you were to go to Steam charts and look it up, it's probably stuff that's had like a peak user number of like 30. So yeah, if you are of the exploratory mindset and you're just like, I want a bunch of cheap games, grind up those old emotes, grind up those old profile backgrounds, and go in there and just bid on some garbage. There's stuff in there that has as few as 130 bids on it. So it would not take much effort to climb high enough on the ladder to actually nab yourself some of those games.
You can get some Pinball FX tables if you're into Pinball FX for pretty cheap.
There you go. I mean, yeah, like if you just like, I want to play something new and I want to play something different. I shouldn't say new. I want to play something different and I don't really care how good it is because I am a pioneer. I'm an explorer. This is the time to do it. Go bid on that junk.
You can get programs to help you learn other languages for cheap.
All right, I am just converting my entire inventory into gems because I have no idea what any of this shit even is.
Your
whole inventory, huh? That's pretty gangsta.
I will be excited next week to see what kind of crazy crap James has bought with his gems.
Probably not a lot because I'm only going to have about 500.
Wow, your inventory is very little.
It's also
I don't even know what it is. I don't understand any of this.
You're worthless, James.
What the hell is a trading card? It's not even a card. It's just a freaking picture.
Can you convert Dota 2 cosmetics into gems?
You cannot. No, it's solely Steam inventory items.
I have 57 items in my Steam inventory, including 2 copies of Scribblenauts Unmasked. Because we did a giveaway of those, and 2 of the people who won them never claimed it. Maybe I should just redeem one to my inventory so I have I have a copy. I don't think they're ever going to take it at this point.
I mean, in a way, this is also a way to reward people who have been farming a high Steam level. Because every time you construct badges in Steam, you raise your Steam XP, which raises your Steam level, which improves your drop rate for trading cards as trading cards leave the economy. So, you know, in a way, people who've been sitting on all those emotes and stuff now have something to do with them. Because there were tons of emotes and backgrounds out there that literally nobody wanted, not even the people who had them. They just made the Steam badges to get the Steam XP to have a higher Steam level. I mean, there are people floating around with like a Steam level of like 300, 350 or something at this point. Maybe even higher. I haven't looked in quite a while.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's nuts.
I'm done. I've got 552 gems. What do I do with that? What do I do?
I don't think there's anything. I haven't seen anything selling for below 900. Even the shittiest, cheapest, poopy poop
So,
has been
but
going.
what you can do, oh, James, okay, here's the magic. You want more gems, you just go to the auction, you go to the market, and you buy a bunch of like 10-cent or 8-cent emotes and backgrounds to fill out your gem stack.
I'm spending real money on this. What's wrong with you?
But you may, for as little as $1 of investment, you may end up getting a game with a Metacritic average of like 45.
You can also just buy a stack of 1,000 gems for $1.22.
Don't do
that.
Can
I just send these to one of you? How do I do that?
I don't know.
I don't.
What does packing gems into a sack do?
It makes so they're tradable.
The stacks of 1,000 are tradable, so you have to have a minimum of 1,000. That's probably it.
Oh my god, I suck.
You really do suck. I mean, no one is questioning that.
All this proves is that you haven't been wasting your life chasing Steam levels like I have.
I don't even know what that's.
Hey, wait! Quick EP question. Who has the highest Steam level among the three of us?
You probably. Mine's 11. I think you're in the 20s.
I didn't even know I had a Steam level. Level 3.
24, baby.
But what is your years of service, though, Rob?
Good question. Where do I find it?
It says it on the. It's like you get a badge for it.
Oh, I suck so much. I don't even have a badge.
Badges.
You have. You are 5 years of service.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think my years of service is, brah?
I don't know. I can look you up and find out.
9.
Holy moly!
I am old Steam, old man. But for like 7 of those years, the only games I owned was the Valve collection. So it was like Counter-Strike Source 1.6, the Team Fortress Classic. That was like the only games in my inventory. And then I really got back into Steam heavy when Dota 2 went into beta. And then I started playing Dota 2. And then I started buying other games because I happened to... See, I am literally the exact reason Dota 2 exists. Because it's it's free. I spend money on Dota 2. And then because I'm on Steam, I see these sales and I'm like, I'll buy that game. Like, that's why they made Dota, is for that reason, to get me deeper into the Steam market, in the Steam ecosystem, and it totally worked.
All right, because you have bragged about how many more years of service you have than me, for the rest of the podcast, I'm going to call you Dave Senpai.
I am almost double you, Rob, but what does that say about me, that I'm double your years of service and you're double my level? That means that you've made more use of your time, and I am just a lowly, scummy, poopy face.
There was a brief...
No, you're just garbage, James.
A brief week somewhere in my Steam life where I actually got into like going to the message boards for specific games trading card environments and being like, hey, I've got duplicates of this card, I need more of this card to build my badge. Like, there was a week where I was doing that and just trying to grind my Steam level up without spending actual money, because you can actually trade these cards to get there. There's a lot of people, I should link a relevant make use of article on how to use your Steam trading cards. But yeah, you can actually go onto message boards for the games if you don't want to actually pay money for people's cards. There are people doing fair trades. There are people who will do anything as long as they get one more card than they had before. So if you value certain badges and emotes and stuff over others, you can be like, hey, I'll trade you 5 from my game for 4 of the ones that I want from you. And then there's there are people making money off the trading card racket, but it requires a really high volume of trade and a lot of patience.
Interesting. I'm looking at your profile. You have a lot more badges than me, man. You're just kicking my butt everywhere. You got 25 badges. I have like 5. But do you have a single game in your Steam library of which you've played 4,609 hours?
I'm not as dedicated as you, Dave Senpai.
That is not a good stat to have. 4,609 hours played of Dota 2. But I used to leave Dota 2 open 24/7. I would just never close it, even when I wasn't playing it. So that number is very skewed. Kind of wish I could undo that.
For those of you in the live show right now, I'll dump that link to that old make use of article where I looked into exactly what you can do with the trading cards and explained it all. So if you are a trading card virgin on Steam, click that sucker right there.
I like the concept of trading cards, even though it's dumb. It gives people something to do. I mean, it's not offensive in any way unless you're like some kind of weird like addict who's out there like spending you know, tons of money on it and like ruining your life or whatever. But otherwise, it's not offensive. It's chilling.
If you have patience and business savvy, you can get whatever you want from the trading card system without spending a dime. You just have to be willing to interact with actual human beings to do it.
Yeah, which is great.
Well, that rules me out.
James is not good at interacting with human beings. Even when he's forced to do it, he's just bad at it.
I avoid that at all costs, generally.
Yeah, people are making money, but it's really just Steam credit, which is something important to point out, that when you make money on Steam, it's in Steam, and there's really no way to get it out of Steam without doing some backwards, weird, illicit, like selling things out of Steam. And
well, if there were an official way to get it back out, it would have to be like taxed and regulated, which is the only reason they can get away with this.
Right. So that's the whole beauty of the Steam thing, is like you open a chest in Dota and it costs $2.50 to open that chest. But you don't like the item you get out of that chest, so you sell that item on the Steam marketplace thinking, I'll get my money back. I can sell it for like $2 on the Steam marketplace. But then, so they got your $2.50, then you sold it for $2, which they take, what, 10% of that $2 sale, so they got another 20 cents out of that. But now you still have $2 in the Steam in your Steam wallet, which you then have to spend on Steam, so they make that $2 back again. And in the end, they have now made $4 off of your initial $2.50 purchase, right?
And they're selling virtual goods. Like, it's not like we run out of copies of these games too. So
that also is true. So it costs them whatever it costs them to send that thing to you over the server. So basically, Valve are geniuses is the moral of the story.
No, there's a reason this is a privately funded company that is like probably richer than most small countries.
That being said, though, they are like, as far as I'm concerned, like the least shitty of all the big companies. Like, they seem to genuinely have the best interest of their community in mind, as long as it still makes them money. But I feel like compared to a lot of companies, I would take Valve over. I don't feel like they're the evil empire just yet.
Oh yeah, I mean, granted, that day is coming where this all takes a sharp left turn and everything goes downhill. But until then, you know, Viva Steam.
But does it have to, though? I mean, does it really have to? Can't they just be...
We'll see. They've said stuff like, hey, if we ever have to shut this whole operation down, we'll publish a patch that lets you play all your games without talking to the servers. And so they've promised a lot of make good, as far as I know. But, you know, we'll have to see how that goes.
Yeah, I love Steam. I hate Dota, but I play it anyway. Speaking of Dota, Scudderman... I understand that you play the Dotas. I know you play the Dotas. You make YouTube videos about the Dotas. I didn't really play with you much before because you were just beginning, and I had just trained Jess in playing Dota, and I did not feel like training another person because it's very hard. Teaching someone to play Dota is harder than playing Dota. So now that you know how to play, I would like to play with you, Scudderman. Now, it's hard because you're in Europe, and it is hard to work out a time when you can come on and play with my friends where it's not the middle of the night for you. But when I want to play some games of Dota with my good friend Mr. Scudderman. We can roll as a 5-stack. We can play some captain's mode. It'll be mad fun, but it's going to be late at night for you probably because unfortunately my friends and girlfriend have real jobs where they work during the day. So Scudderman, let's figure this shit out. We're going to play some Dota together, 5-stack. We'll stream it on this channel. And 2 people will come watch, and it'll be fun. So let's do it, Scudderman. We're going to talk on Twitter. We'll figure this shit out. But I want to announce it publicly that there will be a stream on this channel with Scudderman. Right now, I'm saying it, so therefore, you can hold me liable.
Bro date.
Well, it'll be... I mean, there will be a girl there. Jess is a female.
Oh, right.
So
we'll have a 6-pack. We'll lay together. It'll be great.
I mean, I keep trying to get Rob to play Dota again. You seem to enjoy playing it when you played it, but you just kind of disappeared and never come back.
I enjoyed it. The problem is I am amateur hour when I play. I don't, like...
You know, for a new Dota player, you sucked a lot less than most new Dota players suck, man. Like, you're way less retarded than most people are when they start playing that game. I did not feel like you were, like, feeding excessively. I did not feel like you were making horrible decisions and doing dumb things. I think you, as far as a new player goes, were not that bad.
I think the biggest problem is that I find the game stressful. Like I don't.
Oh, no debate there. It is incredibly stressful.
Yeah. Like when you win, it's great, but like the process of winning is so. And then people start to yell at you, like if you're playing with strangers. And
don't play with strangers. That's pretty much. You gotta know what you're getting into if you're gonna play with strangers. And yeah, don't play that. Don't play with strangers. Play with us though, man. Come back. It'll be fun. You could do I'm sure one of my friends is usually he doesn't play as much. We could do you, me, my one friend that plays a lot, Scudderman, and Jess, and have a 5-stack. Then you don't have to worry about anybody yelling at you because all 5 people are with you, and it'd be fun. You should do it.
The office is not prepared to comment on this issue at this time.
Can't talk past 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time without waking people up. All right, Scudderman, we'll figure it out, brother. We'll talk about it. We're going to get you on there, and we're going to get Rob to come back for one last Dota hurrah.
Oh, dear.
I'm not even going to try to convince James because he's freaking worthless. So, if you guys don't want to play Dota for free, a game you can also play for free is SimCity 2000, which Origin, EA, you may have heard of them. They're a pretty large company. They're giving away SimCity 2000 for free on the personal computer. So even if you have like a shitty-ass computer, you should be able to run SimCity 2000.
Is that deal still up right now?
Yes, it is still up. I just double-checked because that first launched like 5 days ago, so I think it's got about 2 days left. It's not exactly the most generous giveaway. The game was only selling for $6 on Origin before, but hey, free is free. I signed into my Origin account for the first time in months to redeem my free copy of SimCity 2000.
Well, if there's one thing I can say about there being merit to playing SimCity 2000 is that when you play an early SimCity like that and a later SimCity like SimCity 4 or the new 2013 SimCity, you know, that let's not get into that controversy, but it really speaks to a different era in what people thought the future of cities would be. Like, the new SimCity has an option to build an arcology in your region. In SimCity 2000, I think, like, the end game was like, no, we're building arcologies. We're building these giant tower structures, and people will live in them and work in them, and they'll have, like, parks on the roof, and they'll look like giant space stations. Like, the whole arcology thing was really big in the older SimCity games. So it speaks to a very different thought in what the future of cities would be.
The only SimCity game I got really played a lot of was the SNES one.
Yeah, with green-haired Mr. Wright giving you all the tips.
Yeah, I played, man, like a quadrillion hours of that freaking game. I just played it all the time. And you know, the weird thing is, in spite of my ever-growing large game collection, I do not own a copy of SimCity on the SNES right now because they're always super overpriced.
Oh, yeah.
Every time I see one, they want like $20. I'm like, this game's worth like $4. Why are you trying to charge $20? So
would you play another bajillion hours of it?
No, I don't play any of the games I buy.
So you would just want to have it for having it.
I mean, have you seen my game shelf? It's filled with games. I don't play any of them. I think I'm up to like 700 games in my retro game collection. I don't play any of them. They just sit there. It's basically wall decoration. I just like having them.
Are you afraid of the day when you wake up and think, what the hell have I been doing?
Not really, because I know that I can turn around and sell them for more than I paid. Because I only get games from, like, I go to like flea markets and stuff. So everything I have is well undervalued. Like a month ago, I decided I don't want to collect Atari, Intellivision, and ColecoVision games anymore. So I put it all up. I picked out the rare, valuable ones. Like I had like some of the pornography games on Atari, and
dude, you can't sell those. What's wrong with you?
I sold them, and then the rest of it I put a big lot up, and I have I have spreadsheets with what I paid for everything, and I made about $100 profit. Not a huge profit, but more than I paid, and I got rid of a chunk of collection that I was like, I don't really want to collect these anymore. So and I could turn around and sell my NES collection for way higher profit than that if I wanted to. So that's why I never regret it. I consider it like an investment.
Collecting though is always a weird racket to get into because the normal thoughts on supply and demand don't necessarily function in a collector's market because there is no need for these objects. It's an entirely want-based market. So like even one crazy person can choose to buy for an obscene price. Or, you know, you can get a bunch of people just waiting each other out. And if the guy who's selling doesn't need the money, he can sit there at a high price for months on end.
Which is, it took me almost a month to sell the rare Atari games, like the porn ones. They sold instantly, but the big lot took, I think it took about a month to sell. But I was like, I don't need the money. I took them off my shelf. They're sitting in a box. It'll sell eventually, and then it did. So anyway, that was a sidetrack. But yeah, so the point of all this was that you don't have to spend money on a stupid game collection because you could get SimCity 2000 for free. Woohoo! Bringing it back around, boys. I'm a professional. I don't care about this next story, so we're gonna delete it. So there's an article that's been making the rounds on the internet circuit. First time I've seen this happen in a while. An article from Joystick is making the rounds in a very positive light. I have not seen a positive thing out of Joystick in a while. I feel like Joystick has fallen off. Am I wrong in that, Rob? Or
I don't read much Joystick. I'm more Polygon, IGN, and GameSpot.
Yeah, I feel like Joystick used to be right there with Kotaku in terms of like, you know, you want the news before it's been fully verified. Those are the two sites to go to. But now I feel like nobody even talks about Joystick. But this article by Richard Mitchell about how we are paying for broken games and it is unacceptable, and it kind of is about the pre-order culture and the
early access culture
and the game developers saying fuck it, we'll ship the game and patch it later culture. Ubisoft and the Halo collection, or the Master Chief collection, being recent big offenders. It goes into a lot about how, you know, back in the day you bought a game and you put it in your NES and that was the game and it worked, you know.
And they QA'd it enough to get it right the first time because they knew they couldn't patch it.
Because they had to, exactly. It wasn't like, whatever, it could fix this shit later, you know, like whatever you shipped, that's what was going to get reviewed, and that's what everyone was going to play. So you had weird things where like they post from like some of the weird nonsensical things from like Castlevania 2 that would have been patched now, but it's just whatever, you know. That's what it is. Like they post wait for a soul with a red crystal on Deborah Cliff, and the caption is, this poorly translated clue in 1988's Castlevania 2 baffled players and made the game very difficult to beat.
Man, Castlevania 2 was a game you only beat if you like paid attention to its rich oral heritage.
What a terrible night for a curse.
Yeah.
Scrolling slowly across the screen every time it turns to night, while you wait for it to slowly scroll so you could play again.
Yeah.
I have that game.
I bought that game as a virtual console game on my 3DS because, man, that was a really different game.
It was different. I have, let's see. Here it is. Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest. Ba-ding. Pull it off the shelf. Here it is. So anyway, the article is actually very good. It's long. It's not super long, but it's a good sized read, but it really cuts to the heart of the fact that we as a gaming culture need to stop pre-ordering games is pretty much what it comes down to. The store, the whole like thing where if you don't pre-order it you won't get a copy of it. When is the last time that has ever happened? Have you ever gone to buy a game on day one? Maybe not, like maybe at the PlayStation era is the last time I can remember a store being like, sorry, we're out of it.
Well, no, but that's not even the issue anymore. Now it's just like, if you don't pre-order it, you don't get this day one DLC or this skin pack or whatever. And internet, if you're the people buying these early access games and these pre-order games to get these stupid things, you are part of the problem. Stand on your principles. I mean, there is a degree to which we can blame the behavior of these publishers, you know, creating stuff that's withheld if we don't do X, you know, bad consumer behavior. But, you know, it is our fault. We need to actively say no to these things if we want them to stop. We need to make them not profitable.
And not only that, a lot of times those pre-order editions stick around for a long time. Like, currently on my wish list, I was talking about I have Sunset Overdrive on there. The Sunset Overdrive that is on my wish list is the day one edition of Sunset Overdrive.
Yeah, yeah.
And Sunset Overdrive came out like a month and a half ago, so you can still buy the day one edition with all the bullshit a month and a half after the game came out.
Now, see, Scudderman, what he says in the chat there is right. Trader Bagel said people will eventually realize they shouldn't buy this stuff. No, they won't, because people are, like, the mass of humanity is inherently fairly gullible, I think. I think Scudderman's right to be pessimistic about this. People are going to keep doing this because I feel like a large amount of the video game populace is a low willpower group of people. You know, like, oh man, I hate EA. Ooh, new shiny thing. You know, oh gosh, Ubisoft published a broken game. Ooh, Far Cry 4. Like, we have no willpower to stand on our principles. If we want to play a game, we're gonna play that game. We're gonna suck it up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have as much of a problem with early access as they're talking about in the chat because it says early access. You know what I mean? Like, you know you are buying a game that is not done. But when I go to the store and buy Assassin's Creed Unity in a retail packaging, I am not buying a fucking early access game. I am buying a game that I expect to work fully when I put it in the box. Same with Master Chief. I am buying a Halo game specifically for the multiplayer. That shit better work. Now, if I bought the Master Chief Collection 6 months before it came out and the multiplayer was broken, well, I bought it 6 months before it came out. It might be broken, but so I don't have a problem with the early access thing as long as it is quite clear what you are getting into and the developers make it clear that, and Steam makes it clear that you are not buying a finished product. I don't really have a problem with that as much.
And it's also your responsibility as a consumer to have fair expectations of an early access product. You are not being promised a finished game when you pay for an early access game.
Right.
You're being promised the game in the state that it's in, and literally no more patches or improvements than that. You know, all of what they say in those little early access boxes is not binding. Like, what is it, Starbound? Starbound was like abandoned, I think. Cube World's gone dark. There are all these games that promise, like, oh yeah, we're going to keep, you know, every 2 weeks and this, that, and the other. And it just doesn't happen. So I guess this is like, let's just have brief Technophilia PSA moment. When you buy an early access game, you are paying for it in the state that it's in, and you do not have any binding right to anything further than that. So make sure you're willing to accept it exactly as it stands, because you might not get anything else.
Yep. But that aside, as Scudderman says, with early access, I know I'm buying an unfinished game. You know you're buying an unfinished game, but many people are not paying attention to that, and they think it's a full game just early.
Right.
But doesn't the name give a clue? Early access. Early. Something is early.
Yes,
You're not getting access to it.
But early access could mean, like, you are getting early access to the finished game also. Like, if I said, hey, here's a copy of Call of Duty, you can get early access to it. You might, if you're not an educated consumer, you might think I'm giving you early access to the game that is done.
So you should rename early access to, like, beta versions.
Yeah, that would actually be better. Like, call it like Steam Beta.
Unfinished product.
Yeah,
that is
or
what they should call it.
Yeah,
catchy.
Like Giant Bomb, they literally call, when they do a quick look, you know, that Giant Bomb does their quick looks, they decided that it to change the name of the quick looks for early access games to Giant Bomb Unfinished. Like, hey, this game is not done. We are looking at it now, but it is not done.
Preview build. Surely that makes sense.
Preview build, yeah, or just unfinished
build. I mean, I'm used to all this unfinished crap because with the Oculus Rift, nothing's finished.
You literally are spending hundreds of dollars on a beta piece of hardware.
Right.
Trader Bagel brings up a good point. I think Minecraft is actually partially responsible for this because Minecraft is the highest grossing video game on the planet, and it is the textbook example of when this goes right. And so I think people look at it as the rule rather than the exception. Like, Minecraft did everything correct, but in this like, you know, early access, early pay for an early beta kind of system. And so now we've had people have that go really well one time, and then they get unfair expectations of all these fly-by-night developers.
Yeah, definitely. Well, what are you gonna do? Developers know they can get away with it. They're gonna do it, you know. It's on the consumers to do something about it, really, and
Right.
no one's going to do something about it. So
Our behavior will shape the industry because our money shapes the industry. So be a better human.
Yep. I have completely stopped pre-ordering games. The last game I pre-ordered one game, I think, in 2014 because I wanted to try out the preloading of a digital game. I forget what it was though, but that was the
I've
only.
stopped buying digital games on consoles, but I'll still buy them through Steam just because my experience with consoles has been so terrible. What with being locked out of my PlayStation account and stuff. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's never going to happen to me on Steam, right?
I see.
You'd hope so.
All my pre-orders recently have been stuff. So my recent pre-orders have been Civ Beyond Earth, and that's a situation where even if it comes out broken, I trust Firaxis to fix it. And The Crew, for which I watched a bunch of the week before it launched beta, and I said, that's my thing. Like that's the exact kind of game I want right now. And so I pre-ordered it. So it was all situations.
I don't see the point of pre-ordering a digital game, though. I mean, you could just order it on the day and get it immediately. Like
I pre-ordered it so it would preload. Also,
but is your internet that slow that you need to preload something? I mean, for me, I'll pre-order something on Amazon because I don't want to go to the fucking shop on launch day and buy something. Like, if it can come in the post to me at lunchtime, then great, right? But I'm not going to pre-order something digitally when I can just click buy and it'll be there 5 minutes later.
Not for a 15 gigabyte game, at least not on my internet.
All right.
Is yours way faster?
Yeah, I guess it's an issue of speed. I just I don't know.
Sorry, I'm answering questions in the chat too.
Yeah,
where are we on the news? Because Dave is vanished. Oh, Hatred. Okay, so next little news.
Yes, let's talk about this. I love this game.
Oh, this is okay. I'll get into my feelings on this game. So I don't know if any of you have been following the game Hatred on Steam. It's basically some video came out of it. It's an ultra-violent kind of killing spree sort of game. The preview video for it included, stuff like, knocking down innocent people and executing them with a shotgun while they're screaming and stuff like that. It's super, super violent, and it really turns some stomachs. The first kind of, what were you gonna say, James?
I'd just like to point out that this looks exactly the same as Postal 1 and 2. Did you ever play those?
I did not.
This is almost identical. I mean, graphically as well. It's like pre-rendered beautiful stuff, and in terms of content, you're going around, and with the Postal game, you were just killing innocent people, killing cops, killing randomly, and it was fun.
Well, but we're getting
screw me, right?
So I guess with Hatred, we're getting to a point where graphics and presentation and all that stuff takes it a little closer to home. We're climbing out of the uncanny valley, and it's too much for people. But the first thing that happened against Hatred here was that I believe it was the physics engine. The physics engine they were using, the company that made it said, "Hey, don't display our logo on your product. You can keep using our engine, but we don't want to appear in support of this." And now Valve has turned around and said they haven't said why they took Hatred down from Steam, but they said, "Look, this doesn't look like the kind of game that we want on our service. We're pulling it from itself.
Your game must not contain offensive material or violate copyright." Blah, blah, blah. So it's your definition of offensive, really. That I mean, can you buy GTA on Steam?
Well, not yet, but there's also no PC version yet.
Oh right, obviously. But will
wow,
you be
this is some pretty heavy violence, though. I pulled the video up here, and
yeah, not for the faint of heart here, because it's a lot of doing awful things to innocent people.
Wow, yeah,
so.
Yeah, that
Bring
is.
up a video of Postal 2 or Postal 1 though, and see if you can notice the difference.
I think the biggest difference would be the fidelity, the graphical fidelity.
Postal was pretty good back in the day.
Right, back in the day, but compared...
No, I mean, even compared to today, it's pretty good. Postal 2.
Yeah. Well, and this all comes down to, a question of,
on
people...
Steam. Postal 2 is on Steam, I should add.
Right. But this comes down to a thing of, do people have the right to be entertained by whatever they want, no matter who it offends and stuff like that? I generally side on the side of, look, if people are willing to pay for it, the market's going to speak. I think the market's going to speak generally against this. I think that, if it were given a fair shake, I don't think it would have sold as many copies as people are afraid it will. But yeah, I guess, Steam has spoken, and certainly, Steam saying no to your game is it's a huge bite out of your PC game sales, because if people have to walk into a storefront to get it, or have to go to another service, you're losing out on an audience of millions if you're not on Steam. So certainly it's a poison pill for the developers to not be on Steam.
I have Postal 2 up. This is not
Postal 1. Sorry, it lost the isometric thing after the first version. The first one was pre-rendered and actually looks pretty good. I mean, it had the same content in terms of just random violence.
Even still, the guy, the way it looks when this guy shoots the guy in the head is nothing like in Hatred when he sticks the gun in the lady's mouth and blows her head off.
And she's screaming for mercy the whole time. At a certain point,
this is comical Grand Theft Auto, hey, stupid looking violence. The Hatred is not comical, stupid looking violence. It's whoa.
And the character models are low fidelity. It practically looks like you're just playing with action figures. With Hatred, I think it just hit a little too close to home for a lot of people, and with some of the real insane acts of violence we see, at least in the United States and even in other parts of the world, school shootings and stuff like that. People are on trigger warning for this kind of stuff. They don't want to be associated with it.
But I gotta say, actually, I think the style of Hatred looks cool.
Yeah,
no. And the funny thing is,
but then we're saying, well, it's only the graphical fidelity, which
I bet you could make a movie with the same kind of graphic violence as Hatred and get away with it, because movies have different standards applied to them than video games. I think there is still a little bit of a video games are for kids mentality in a lot of people, that determines which video games get axed and why movies don't get the same kinds of things applied to them.
I mean, you're watching the video for Postal 2 right now. I remember this. You can just pour petrol on random people and set fire to them.
I literally have no emotional reaction to this, and I look at Hatred, and personally, I'm revolted. Now,
I don't see the difference, really.
My opinion is, I look at Hatred and say, well, I'm just not going to buy that, but I'm not going to challenge its right to exist, because I want my right to make art that other people might not like too. But I'm certain you're not going to see me giving money to the developers of Hatred. I mean, that's just the bottom line. I have a huge distaste for that kind of graphic, intense violence.
James, there's a bald man with a beard and boobs dancing in Postal 2. I can't take it seriously. It's not a serious.
No, it was never meant to be serious, but it was incredibly controversial.
But that's the difference, though. Is Hatred? There is nothing funny about it.
Yeah, and Hatred also.
Do we know that much about it yet? I mean, as far as I was aware, it hasn't had more than a little trailer,
And nothing about that trailer was funny.
Yeah, there wasn't. I think that people are also afraid that Hatred is basically going to be the wish fulfillment game for a lot of really depraved people, and we
honestly
go through.
Good, because then they won't go out and do it in real life.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually enjoy being disturbed in video games, so I would play Hatred because I like being made uncomfortable by. I like to watch movies like Saw and Hostel and stuff because I like when a piece of media can offend me and make me feel uncomfortable. There's a scene in the last season of Sons of Anarchy where there's a torture scene, and the way that it is done, it actually made me feel uncomfortable, and it's hard to make me uncomfortable, so I actually enjoy when a piece of media can do it. So maybe
Trader Bagel says we have films like Saw where people are tortured and killed. How is that any different? And that's what I mean, Trader Bagel, that video games have a different standard applied to them, probably because they're way younger than movies.
You are doing it.
That stuff.
You are doing it, not watching it. You are the person doing the torturing or doing the whatever, and I think that kind of gives it a little more I don't know, a little more pop.
Scudderman was saying also, the main issue here is that Steam hasn't laid out concrete guidelines for what will get removed from the platform. They claim they don't want to be a curator, but this has shown that they are still curating games. And you're absolutely right, Scudderman. And that's, you know, we talk about what a benevolent dictator, you know, Valve and Steam as a service has been, but at the same time, they are the ones with the power. And if they say no to your game, you know, there was that other game that was pulled from Steam when the developer went off and made a casual death threat to Gabe Newell on Twitter, and he deleted the tweet, but the game was pulled, and he wasn't the only developer on that game. You know, suddenly a bunch of people's livelihoods were affected by this one dude, you know, being a hothead on Twitter, and now their game loses out on an audience of millions.
Yeah, I don't know. Either way, I don't know. This might be helping them anyway. It's getting a lot of publicity, so I don't.
Yep, there's no such thing as bad publicity.
Well, there is if you can't sell your game on the main PC platform where people buy games.
Yeah.
Well, then offer it DRM free somewhere else.
Oh, I'm sure they will, but just that being on the front page of Steam when your game releases, developers have said that generates a ton of sales for them. So, there's definitely a problem. So hey, I decided to try just at the end of the show. I've had this ready all show, but I decided to just throw it up now. Putting the chat on the screen, kind of like Rob does with your streams. I want to know what you guys in the audience think about that, since this is our last story. So do you guys like having the chat right there? Like that way you could full screen the show and still see what's being said. You can know when we actually see what you're saying, or do you think you'd rather it not be on the screen? Would love to hear what you guys think about that. So I just threw it up there now so you could see. Look, here's my mouse cursor.
I think that's pretty cool.
So yeah, Trader Bagel says, "Hi, Mum, I'm on the telly."
Already working as intended. Awesome.
Yeah. So I just want to know what you guys think about that. Another thing I set up for the show, oh crap, I don't have that tab open, is I set up a Nightbot thing which lets us do giveaways. So
why would you do that? We have a giveaway thing.
For the podcast?
We can just use our Gleam.io account, can't we?
No, but this does it live. All right, the show's over. So let me say the stuff, and then I'm going to keep the stream going so we can play with things if anybody wants to see. So make sure you leave us a review on iTunes as long as it's a positive review. If it's a negative review, then fuck you. Make sure to like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Technophilia podcast. Follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/TheTechnophilia or something. I don't know. Who gives a shit about Twitter? Follow me on Twitter at Sidox. Follow Rob at, what is your Twitter name, Rob? I always forget.
Just my full name, at Robert Wiesehan. That's Wiesehan.
You can also see it on the stream under his face. Follow James on Twitter, because I'm not mean like Justin, at Wolfie Smith with a 0 for the O. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching / listening to this episode of the Technophilia